So I guess this video is coming out whenever it comes out. I guess it'll be today, and which is ambiguous because I guess it comes out when it's posted on YouTube. But the main intent of this is to talk about the last little bit of SOTI kind of, or not SOTI kind of stuff, but peer review assignments, right? And so I took the last one, and I've had an opportunity to read through some answers. I've had some people ask me for regrades because they disagreed with someone's evaluation. And as I've always said, that's perfectly fine. The issue, of course, is that, when I ask people to, if they want to regrade, right, what I always ask them to do is to, I want you to go through and reread your paper and you tell me how you see it, right, using the rubric, right? So don't just ask me for a regrade, but tell me, I looked through, I was, critical, maybe you're not unkind to yourself, but I was critical. I think I'm at this point, right? So the idea of that is for you to read your paper again after you've had some time to be distant from it, look at it and evaluate it and stuff like that. And, after looking through some of the other submissions of people who have not asked me to regrade, there is a recurring theme, right? And it really comes down to how people look and prepare for this final assignment. So the first thing that, ends up happening, right, is that there are people who do read the feedback, right? And they take it very seriously and they make the edits, right? And there are people who have not looked at feedback at all. Or if they do, they make poor sentences, or they're not watching these videos, or they're not really listening to what I'm saying as far as this assignments are concerned. So let me tell you again, big picture. I would highly encourage everyone to do this. Is that the idea, right, is for you to stitch all the peer review assignments together to perform the final paper. And I think some people aren't necessarily being critical with how they grade their work, right? What do I mean by that, right? I think there are many instances where people have asked for regrades and stuff, and they will think that they are one level, right? And maybe that's because they don't see things as differently as I do, or something like that. And on average, right, when I look back at all these assignments, you'll see people who'll be like, I had a perfect score. And I look at it, I'm like, well, no, it wasn't, because it was, a 25 or something like that. On average, I tend to find is that when students or peer reviews, when they give assignments, they'll think they're at one level. And what typically happens, sorry, I had to pause for a second. What will end up happening is that I tend to grade 5 to 10 points lower than what that is, right? And sometimes it's a good wake-up call, right? And sometimes, people are a little distraught by that. And I can understand that. The point is that when you are looking into regrading and reevaluating your paper, you should keep in mind that, at whatever level you're at, I think it's probably at a lower point because some details and changes need to happen, right? What do I mean by that? So there are people who have flat out missed added correlates, right? Or, not included criteria, or they're not, defined, listed, explained, there's no citations backing up, right? They'll give themselves a higher score, right? In those instances, right, I can't give you more points, right? I understand that you thought you did better, but if you are not meeting the terms of the rubric, if you are not including citations to back up your points, if you're not describing the pattern, one of the biggest recurring themes that I've had throughout this entire term is that students should be able to list whatever they're talking about, right? They need to define whatever the concept is. So if you're listing comprehensiveness, you should define what comprehensiveness means, explain what it means, right? And then apply it to whatever theory is, right? There are many students that will come in, and when they start writing, they might mention comprehensiveness, and then deterrence theory doesn't mean comprehensiveness. And for me, reading it, right, it's okay, well, there's no explanation of what this is. They haven't defined it. They haven't explained what it is, and they haven't really applied it to deterrence theory. At that point, it's yes, those are words I recognize, but there is no demonstration of knowledge. What I would encourage everyone to do ahead of the term paper is that regardless of what section it is, and maybe you should do this for every section, actually you should do this for every section, is to go through and really ask yourself, am I listing whatever concept it is? Am I defining it? Am I explaining what it means? And then am I applying it appropriately, right? Again, it is really important that you don't sit there and think, oh, he'll know what I mean, right? I cannot do that work for you, and that is not the intent of the paper, right? Again, what it comes down to is, are you communicating your knowledge as such as like someone who is not like familiar with it, right? And that involves all those things: listening, defining, explaining, and applying, right? If at any point there's a weakness in there, if there's no citations provided, to show that you've read or done backup research, if it seems like there's not a lot of work, and I'm going to assume, because I kind of have to, right? Because you haven't given me evidence to suggest otherwise, the student does not understand the concept, and because of that, I have to evaluate them lower, right? It's not that I want to do that, right? I'm not looking to give people lower grades. As a grader, what I try to do is looking for ways and reasons to give people points. If you're not providing avenues for me to do that, because it's just like, well, this is an example of this, and like moving on with your sentence, like, I can't do that, right? I cannot do that for you. That is something that has to be done. And that's something I've reiterated over and over and over again. And at that point, when it comes to the final paper, like, I don't know what to tell you, right? You may be disappointed with your grade. This is really a time, right? Especially if you think you are on the border, that you need to start being critical, and you need to, if it means you're getting uncomfortable with the editing process, so be it. If that means you need to hit me up and you want to walk through your paper, that's fine. I'm happy to do that, but you have to reach out to me, right? Because I don't know who you are, right? If you don't reach out to me, if you don't ask for help, how can I know that you specifically need help? So with this, right, it's by the time this goes up, we are a week until this is due. It's a huge component of your paper. Spend some time really linking, theories to whatever concept it is, really explaining what's happening, and not just relying on me to assume, oh, this person knows it, move on. Secondly, please use headings and subheadings, right? So, like, as I've already said before, walls of text are super annoying. But for now, I'll say toodaloo, and I hope you guys are having a good Thanksgiving break and not stressing too much about this paper. If you are, let's talk about it. Let's settle down. Let's get you. If you're at a 10, let's bring you back down to a 2, right? So let's bring this in, right? Hopefully this is helpful. If it's not, I'm sorry. Talk to me. Maybe we can find something that's helpful for you. Until then, I'll see you all later.